Today's sew-along is for an easy vintage dress. This is Simplicity 9594. This is an easy sewing project that comes together quickly. It's a perfectly simple design, great for warmer weather. As the weather cools, you could also pair this dress with a cardigan or a jacket. I've worn it here with the Mariana jacket, which is a great free pattern sewing tutorial available on this channel. You can find this pattern at your local fabric store and online. I've left a link for you below so you can check out all the details, grab a copy, and sew along with me. So grab that pattern, cut out your fabric, mark your dots and notches, and let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is prepare the bust darts on the front piece. I've transferred my darts from my pattern piece using a tracing wheel and tracing paper. Now I'm going to fold each dart in half and pin through one dart leg and out the other. And I'm going to do this for both bust darts. Then I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew from the outside to the point, leaving thread tails at the point so that I can tie them in knots. And then press those darts down toward the bottom of the dress. Then we can start working on our center darts. We're going to prepare these in the same way, folding them in half and pinning through one dart leg and out the other. Then we can take them to the sewing machine and sew from one point to the other, leaving thread tails at both ends so that you can tie both ends in knots. Do this for both of the long front darts. And press those darts toward the center. Pin and prepare your back inner darts in the same way as we did for the front piece. And sew in place. And then press those darts toward the center back. Before I attach my front and back pieces at the side seams, I'm going to finish the side seams separately for both front and back pieces. I'm going to finish the right and left side seam for the front piece. I'm also going to finish the side seams of the back pieces, as well as each of their center seams in preparation for the zippers later. So I'll finish both of the long seams for one back piece, as well as for the other. Now I'll place my front and back pieces right sides together and pin the side seams. Sew the side seams from the underarm to the bottom of the dress on both sides with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Apply interfacing to the wrong sides of your front and back facing pieces. Then we're going to place these pieces right sides together and pin the side seams. Sew the side seams with a 5/8 inch seam allowance and press your seams open. The pattern instructions offer a few different options for how to finish the bottom edges of these facing pieces. I've just taken it to my ironing board and pressed up the bottom raw edge to the wrong side by 1/4 inch from one side all the way to the other. And now I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and edge stitch close to that inner raw edge all the way across. Take your strap piece to the ironing board and we're going to press both of the long edges to the wrong side all the way across by 3/8 inch. Once you've pressed in the outer long edges, take it to your ironing board once again, folding the strap in half to press a crease right down the center. And once that's pressed in half, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew down both long edges with 1/8 inch seam allowance on both sides. Doing this for both straps. Now I'm going to place my facing right sides together with the top of my dress, matching my center front, center back notches and the side seams, and pin in place all the way across. Now, even though the pattern instructions would have you attach your straps later on after attaching the facing and tacking them to the front and back of the dress, I'm going to be sewing them in between the facing and the dress. I'm going to place one short edge of the strap in between the dress and the facing, placing it in between the two pieces until the short end of the strap reaches the peak of the fabric and pin in place. Doing this for both straps on both sides of the front piece. Then with the strap extending flat from that front piece, I'm going to take the remaining edge and curve it over to the back piece and place it between the facing and the dress in the same way, and pinning in place. Doing the same for the other side. Now I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and sew from center back all the way up and around these curved edges to the opposite center back with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Now that the facing and the straps are attached, if you like at this point, turn the facing to the inside of the garment so that you can try on your dress and see if you like the fit of the straps. If you would like to lengthen or shorten them at this point, you could unpick these little sections that are attaching the straps in the front or in the back, make your adjustment, and then re-sew those tiny sections. I'm happy with the fit, so now I'm ready to trim my seams, clip my corners, and clip into the curves. I'm going to trim my seam by about half. Then I'm going to trim each of the 4 peaks. And then I'm going to clip into all of the curves within the seam allowance, being careful not to clip into the stitching line. Now we're ready to understitch the facing. Press the facing away from the garment so that the facing is laying on top of its seam allowance. Then we're going to sew the facing to the seam allowance all the way around, about 1/8 inch away from the original stitching line. As you approach each of these corners, your presser foot won't allow you to get all the way to the corner, so just stitch as far as you can, end your stitching, and then start a new stitch on the other side of the point. And do this all the way across. Once that's understitched, you can turn the facing to the inside of the garment and give that top seam a really good press. Now place your front and back dress pieces right sides together along the center back seam and pin them together from the notch marked on your pattern piece to the bottom of the dress. Sew from the notch to the bottom of the dress with a 5/8 inch seam allowance, backstitching at your notch to secure. To prepare for installing our zipper along the center back seam, we're going to sew both sides of this opening with 2 separate seam allowances. For your left back piece, the piece that will be on your left side when you wear it, we're going to open out that facing and press this edge to the wrong side of the dress by 5/8 inch. Now that I have that left center back edge pressed to the wrong side by 5/8 inch, I'm going to press the right center opening, again opening out that facing, turning this center back seam to the wrong side by 1/2 inch and pressing from top to bottom along the opening. Now opening out the dress and working from the right side of the fabric, I'm going to place the right side of my zipper up against this folded line along the right center back. You want your zipper stop to be 1/8 inch below this neckline seam, and start pinning in place. All you should see from the outside of the garment is just the zipper teeth. Now using a zipper foot on my machine, I'm going to sew from this neckline seam all the way to the bottom of the zipper, sewing close to the folded edge of my fabric. Now that the right side of the zipper is stitched in place, we want to take the left side of the back dress and place that folded edge so that it lays 1/8 inch over top the opposite folded edge. If you like, you can base this in place before you do the final stitching with a 3/8 inch seam allowance from the left back edge. I'm going to be applying wash away wonder tape to my left zipper tape. This wash away double-sided tape will hold everything in place for me as I sew. Once you have that left center back edge in place, overlapping the right by 1/8 inch, we're going to sew that left side of the zipper in place 3/8 inch away from that left center back. We're going to sew from that neckline seam all the way down, and when the end of your stitching is parallel to where you ended on the right side, you're going to pivot that stitching across to meet the stitching on the other side, backstitching to secure. Now that you have that left zipper tape installed, you should have a nicely concealed back zipper. Now to secure the top facing edges, we can work from the inside of the garment. We're going to use a needle and thread to slip stitch the facing over top that zipper tape, laying the facing parallel to the teeth, making sure to keep those teeth free. Also making sure to just catch the edges of the facing and the zipper tape so that these stitches are invisible from the outside of the garment. And do this on both sides. For the left side of the facing, you may need to taper that edge of the facing so that you can keep those zipper teeth clear. And sew in place. Then we can also hand sew a hook and eye to either side of the top center back for a nice clean closure on the inside. The hem allowance for the bottom of the dress is 2 1/4 inches. I'm going to take the bottom raw edge to my ironing board and press it up to the wrong side by 2 1/4 inches all the way around. Additionally, I'm going to press the raw edge to the wrong side all the way around by 1/4 inch. Now that I have my hem folded to the inside, 1/4 inch along the bottom edge, for a full 2 1/4 inches to the wrong side, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and edge stitch close to that inner folded edge all the way around the bottom of the dress. Give everything a nice final press and your dress is complete. Thank you for watching this sew along. Make sure you check out my other videos for more great sewing inspiration, and I'll see you in the next video.